You're at the grocery store, looking at a cereal box you really want. Just as you turn around to ask your mom for it, you realize she's gone. You're lost. You start to panic. You don't know what to do or who to ask for help. She said she needed eggs, but you're a dumb kid and you can't read anything, so you can't find the dairy aisle. You decide to wander around until you find her, and then, somehow, you do. On your way home, you can't help but think that you could have been lost forever. It could happen again, and next time, you might not be so lucky. This is kind of how I felt while lost in Japan. I do want to preface that it was really only my fault one of the times. I'm not completely stupid. I'll get to that in a bit, because first we need some backstory. While I was still in high school, I dual enrolled in college and took a Japanese class. I loved learning this language, and my teacher noticed how much passion I had for it. She introduced me to a friend of hers that was doing a student exchange program to Kurashiki, Japan for the summer. My teacher was also part of her own exchange program, so I had a choice. I ended up going with the one her friend was a part of. I did get involved with hers the year after, but didn't go to Japan. I hosted a Japanese student here in America. It was a lot of fun, but that's not important to this story. This was my first time out of the country, and I was doing it without my family. I wasn't alone though. There were 3 other students who came along with me, and we had an emergency contact/translator who was with us before and after we were with our host families. This guy, we can call him Benny, was a huge help and was super nice. He also had a strong New Zealand accent, and I will never forget him. After exploring Kyoto for a day or two, we met up with our first host families. During this trip, we had 2 host families per person. All of the events I'm going to talk about happened while I was with the second family. Both families worked really hard to make me feel comfortable, and made sure I had a good balance of things to do and downtime to rest. The second family had a son around my age. Let's call him Seaweed. Seaweed was an interesting guy. He really liked baseball, but when he took me to a baseball game, it was too loud and hot where I was sitting. I also, not being a fan of sports, decided to leave and ended up skipping pretty much the whole game. When I met up with him afterwards, he hadn't even noticed I was gone, and didn't really talk to me because his friend was with him. Another time he took me to an arcade place, and the entire bottom floor was just gambling, and that's all he did. I didn't want to gamble because I knew I'd just lose money, so he gave me some of his to gamble for him on this horse race game. I ended up with a little bit less than I started with, and he ended up winning pretty big, but like a true gambler, decided to keep going and lost basically all of it. He was really excited I was there, but kind of seemed to forget about me a lot. I'm sure you can already see where this is going. We had to take bikes around to get places because both parents worked during most of the day. Unfortunately, my bike was stuck on the hardest gear, so it was very difficult to pedal around. And Seaweed was a 6-foot-tall monster of a person. His calves were huge, and his casual pedaling speed was as fast as I could go on that bike. Literally, he'd be on his phone scrolling, and I'd be dying a block behind him. One day we had to go to his school for some sort of event. As we were making our way to the school, he started to gain distance from me. He was just far enough ahead that I couldn't call for him. And then, he made a turn. When I got to the street he turned on, I saw an intersection up ahead, and stopped at it to think because I had no idea which way he went. But then, by an insane stroke of luck, I spotted a student on a bike wearing the same school uniform that Seaweed was wearing, heading from my right to my left. Thank God for Japan's school uniform policies. I followed him to this, bicycle parking garage thing, and then followed on foot until I reached a train station. I sat off to the side because I didn't have a train pass and I didn't know how to get one. I saw so many students walking through the gate thingy, whatever it's called, while I waited and hoped that Seaweed would either show up in the line of students or come out looking for me. I guess that other student's path was faster, because somehow I got there a few minutes before him. He shows up in the line, spots me, comes over and says, "What are you doing? Get up. We need to get you a pass." What the hell? No concern that I wasn't with him that whole time? Just slight annoyance that I was sitting on the floor across the room? We got to the school, and apparently it was just some weird announcement about a uniform change, because there was a video showing students modeling different outfits than what everyone else was wearing. I don't know, I couldn't understand much. Look, I knew a bit, but I wasn't fluent. There was also this test thing that was passed around to everyone before the video announcement, but no one did it. Most people destroyed theirs, actually. A few days later, I got up with some time to kill before I had to go to this program thing. You know, exchange student stuff. I decided to take a walk. Hold on! I'm not dumb. I walked in a straight line so that I'd know the way back and wouldn't get lost. Now, while I was walking, I passed by this house that had a tree filled with cicadas. They were so loud and flew everywhere. So on my way back, I decided to go around the other side of the house to avoid them. Fun fact about Japanese roads. It's not always a grid. So going on the other side of the house ended up taking me away from where I needed to be. And by the time I realized, I couldn't find my way back to the cicada house. I tried to use the sun to track back to the host family's house, but I went too far and ended up at the edge of the neighborhood. I started to panic. I didn't have data, so I couldn't use my phone at all unless I was within Wi-Fi. So that means no map, no calling or texting, nothing. In hindsight, that was a very bad thing to not set up before I left. I started running, just trying my best to get back to the house. I kept running until I couldn't anymore. And then, yet again, I got super lucky and saw the street the house was on. Let me tell you about the heat. It's so hot in lower Japan in the late summer. I was quite literally drenched in sweat. Also, the second host family had AC in only 3 rooms of the house and barely used it. I took a shower to get all the sweat off before I left the house, but after I was dried off, in the time it took to just brush my short hair, it looked like I had just gotten out of the shower again. Point is, it was stupid hot. No break either, because when I got out the shower, Seaweed was telling me that we were late to the exchange event. I had thought it was much later because the time was miscommunicated to me, so I had to hop on the broken bike again and pedal hard to get to the thing in time so I didn't miss the bus. Almost got lost here again because Seaweed was trying to rush and I was exhausted mentally and physically from trying to get home. They waited for us so we didn't miss the bus, but it put us quite a bit behind schedule. The last time I got lost, I didn't get lucky and magically find my way back. We were on the bikes, again, heading home from being out for the day. We traveled through this weird area next to some houses. I don't know how to describe it, but it looked like this. He got here before I did, and I traveled this way because I didn't know it was a dead end. I was super confused and turned around to see if I missed something. As I was turning around, I knew what just happened. When I spotted this part, I went through and got to the street. I looked left, and then right, and couldn't see him down either way. I decided to go left because that's the general direction we were heading, and after biking for a bit, I realized that I wasn't going to find him. We were way too far from home for me to gamble trying to get back, so I stopped at a grocery store, bought a drink, and told one of the cashiers that I was lost and needed a phone. She was super nice and gave me hers. I called Benny, and I explained my situation. He said that he would call Seaweed and tell him where I was so that he could come get me and take me home, and that I should call him back later to talk. Seaweed arrived and apologized for getting me lost, but as we were leaving, he wanted to stop next door to buy something. You see, we had been in that store a few days earlier, and he saw a pop gun that he really wanted, but his mom said he didn't need it. But I mean, now that we were already there, he might as well pick it up, right? He then made a detour to a park on the way home so that he could shoot it off a bit. No regard for how stressed I was, or that I just wanted to go home. I asked him a few times if we could go, and he would just say, "Not yet, give me a second." Eventually, I convinced him to take me home and he could keep using it there. He agreed, so we left. I called Benny again like he asked, and we talked about me going back to my first host family. I felt really bad leaving, but it was for the better. I didn't want to get lost a 4th time, and there were some communication issues with the second family, so I went to stay with my first host family for the rest of the trip. Overall, the trip was amazing. I don't want me pointing out the interesting parts for a YouTube video to make you think that I had a bad trip. I loved getting to know my host families, even with the difficulties I experienced with the second one. This is also not to discourage you from taking an exchange trip if offered one, because things like this are extremely rare. Japan was super fun, and I really want to go back someday to explore more. Obviously, there was a lot of other stuff that happened on this trip, but most of it was just fun Japan stuff and exchange student stuff, so I didn't think it'd be interesting for the video. I might make a video in the future about other stuff that happened on this trip, but I'll worry about that when I get there. Thanks for watching. At the time of this recording, my last video has 9.4 thousand views. That's just insane to me. I know that's not like crazy in terms of YouTube stuff, but for my first video posted, I'm like actually shocked. So thank you guys for that. See you in the next one. All right, I think that's good. Kaboom!